For more on trade between China and Mexico, Eric Farnsworth joins us now live from New York City. He is the Vice President of the Council of Americas. Eric, welcome to the show. Let me start by asking you, what's the current status of the relationship between China and Mexico?
I think both China and Mexico are looking for a fresh start. You have two relatively new presidents in each country. The relationship to this point has had its ups and downs. It's been a little bit unbalanced, as we heard in the previous report. But there is an opportunity now under new leadership of both countries really to kind of reset and to see where a more balanced relationship between the two countries could be going.
Let's play some chess here. Let's start with, what does China hope to achieve?
Well, China hopes to achieve several things. Certainly, at the most basic level, a better understanding of Mexico and what drives Mexico and how to engage with Mexico economically. Certainly, I think China would be looking to cooperate more fully on energy with Mexico once that sector opens up, according to the reforms that Mexico has to do. But also don't forget that both China and Mexico are global players at the OECD or in other bodies such as the G20, I should say. And so there are ways to cooperate together in those fora as well. And I think better understanding at the leadership level will facilitate those types of cooperations.
On the other side, what does Mexico want?
Well, Mexico sees China as a huge market, as many around the world do. I think they are looking for a more balanced trade relationship. I think they're looking for investment from China as well, with the understanding that sometimes investment causes some disruptions in economies, and so they want to be able to minimize that as well. Don't forget, Mexico, of course, is the southernmost neighbor of the United States, and so there is that continued relationship between Mexico and the United States. I don't see China supplanting the U.S. in Mexico's economy or investment, but clearly Mexico is looking to diversify beyond the United States in case the U.S. slows or the economy is troubled in some way. Then certainly Mexico has a more diverse relationship with other countries, and they can have other alternatives.
Eric, I remember the days when we were, Americans at least, were so worried about Mexico because of all the factories that were there, and they were going to take all the jobs. But this situation with China is a bit unique because now China is, obviously the world's factory, and Mexico is not. So it's not about factory jobs that would be a challenge. What would be the challenge in getting both sides together and have more agreements rather than disagreements?
Well, one of the challenges has been that the two countries produce similar things. They're both manufacturing powerhouses, and they're both aiming at the same market, which is to say the United States and other developed economies. And you don't have the same relationship between China and Mexico that China has had with other Latin American countries, for example, in South America, where it's generally a commodities-based trade relationship. This is more, both countries are manufacturing, and so because of that, they're a little bit competitive. But we are seeing some investment that did go to China migrate back to Mexico based on competitiveness, based on proximity to market, based on supply chains that are developing in the Western Hemisphere. So it's a very interesting dynamic in terms of what's occurring.
It is fascinating because you're talking about a couple decades of history. Now, I want to ask you one final question about this current trip by President Xi traveling through the Americas. Of course, he's right now currently in Mexico. How do you think that trip's coming along so far?
I think it's going pretty well. He went first to Trinidad and Tobago, and then, of course, Costa Rica, and now Mexico. In Trinidad, clearly the interest there is the energy relationship. Trinidad has a large amount of natural gas, and they're looking for new markets because the market that they had in the United States is being supplanted by U.S. supplies. And I believe that they are developing that relationship. In Costa Rica, it's primarily political. Costa Rica, of course, recognizes China and has since 2007. So I think that has facilitated some Chinese promises of financial assistance and support. But in Mexico, what we're seeing as well is a very strong, developing relationship between the leaders. It's not to say that everything is perfect. This is the very beginning of a new relationship, perhaps, between Mexico and China. So we have to see how it plays out. But I think in terms of the actual trip, I think the Chinese government should be relatively pleased about it.
It's the theme that we've been hearing all along, this new relationship. Eric Farnsworth, Council of the Americas, thank you very much for your insights on this very somewhat complicated topic.